Okay, thanks for coming out today. I'm going to turn it over to the mayor here shortly, but I just wanted to address questions. So we are going to take questions from the press at the end. And then if there are questions from the general public, you can speak with me personally afterwards. We'll also be putting out a Spanish translation later this afternoon so that we can make sure we get that out to our bilingual community. Mayor?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's unfortunate that we have to, or we're addressing the public in this particular way, given the events that have occurred over the last 3 days, 4 days now. We know that these headlines are not typically Elkhart. We also know that the string of events that have occurred over the last few days has been gut-wrenching for many, many people, and including myself. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and these mics are just flying around. I'm a husband, and I grew up in this community. So the impact when you have the type of tragic events that have occurred since Sunday morning until now is something that grabs all of us, including myself. These headlines for these young people who have been involved are not typically things that we like to report, but I think it's very important that we do. And so I'm here with our police chief to speak to what we know and what we can, and also to go through the process so that there's an understanding of when these events happen, what do we do? And it's important that everyone knows, including the families who have been impacted. I personally, and you do what you feel, but I personally lift prayer on a regular basis to ensure that we know that there's a divine presence that we want to speak to and then bring us to a space where we can understand and have empathy and love for everyone involved, no matter who they are. The victims, families, and those that have been suspected. And what have occurred over the last 3 days have been a little bit of all of that, from High Dive Park parking lot to the events that happened around the Martin Supermarket off of Jackson Street, to the event that happened on 6th and Jefferson. In each of those events and actions, there have been very tragic issues that have occurred that have brought injury and death to people that live in our community. The families have been affected. The neighbors, the church members, the teachers, the friends of all of the victims are those that we are absolutely making sure that we have in our prayers of comfort and empathy towards what they're going through. Their classmates as well, since these were kids that were in school. Schools are affected. Our whole community is impacted, and we have to be aware of that. And I would hope that we all extend a hand to make sure that these senseless events are not things that continue to happen inside of our community. I also would like to speak to the men and women in our public safety departments. From our police department to our fire department to dispatch. All of them are impacted during these types of events. Obviously, we understand that our police departments are there to protect and serve. Our fire department actually took the injured victims to the hospital, and their families and themselves are impacted when they see this type of tragedy. Our dispatchers are on the phone, are guiding our police department and our fire department through these events, step by step, minute by minute. They're impacted as well, and they take this home with them. Their relationships with each other and with these activities are just as traumatic, and they need to be lifted up in prayer as well. Our police department, they have a difficult profession, and these officers are trained professionally, and when they are required to make life or death decisions in situations as tragic as the ones that they've encountered, it is not easy. And their families and their friends and their relationships are hugely respected in our community and should be. They act according to their training, and we stand behind that training, and we stand behind them as well. They deserve fairness and due process as they go through the agonizing relationships that create, hopefully, a resolve in some of these activities and events that have occurred over the last 3 days. I'm going to let the chief speak about some of the updates that have occurred over the shootings and speak more specifically to the process that occurs when lethal force is used during an activity or an event. I do want to say that we see many questions that have come to me through voicemail or through email or through social media in some kind of way. They come in so many different ways, but what they sometimes leave out is this relationship that each one of us have to one another. It's so difficult to be unifying in space where division seems to be apropos. And the division comes easily, but being able to get through it is the part that's difficult. But it is the part that we need to grasp upon, because all of our community lives together. It doesn't matter who it is. Wherever you live probably beside or with someone that you may not be the same culture with, that you may not have the same relationship with. But it's so important that we understand that we're all living in Elkhart, and what happens to one, what happens to each one of us. And I can't emphasize that more. And that includes our dispatchers, our firefighters, and our police officers. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Milanese and allow him to walk us through the process that goes on when there is lethal force used, as well as give us some updates over the last 2 events that have occurred relative to the shootings just recently, the last 3 days. Chief? I don't think I can hold this. I'll put this somewhere else. There you go.
Got it. Well, good afternoon. My name is Dan Milanese. I'm the chief at the Elkhart Police Department. As the mayor said, I'm here to do an update on not only the officer-involved shooting that took place early Sunday morning, but also to speak to some of the subsequent events that have taken place throughout the city in the last few days. I would like to first start off by echoing what the mayor said when it talks about community. Our first responders live, work, and operate in this community. We love this community. We're dedicated, and you may even have some neighbors that are from some of your first responders. So I want to echo that thought and spirit of community when it comes to our first responders. They're very, very dedicated men and women to the community of Elkhart. So this incident took place, speaking first of the officer-involved shooting incident, this incident took place early Sunday morning outside Hyde Park Pavilion, and it is tragic. We understand that there are community questions and concerns anytime a police action or a police officer is required to use deadly force in the performance of their duties. Deadly force incidents require the most meticulous, thorough, and objective investigations. We want to explain to the public and to the media today how that process works. So, what is the process? After an officer is involved in a shooting, the shift supervisor on duty will immediately respond to the scene and notify the Elkhart County homicide detective that is on call. Why do they contact the homicide unit? The homicide unit is a multi-jurisdictional investigative unit in Elkhart County that specializes in the investigations of all homicides, suicides, child deaths, suspicious deaths, and police use of deadly force events. They're highly trained in specific areas to investigate these types of incidents. The homicide unit operates out of the Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office. The homicide unit, once they are activated, they respond to the scene and they take over the scene from the investigative aspect of the incident. The Elkhart Police Department will release initial information about the incident, but the homicide unit takes over the dissemination of any further information thereafter. They are in charge of the investigation. That remains, or that allows us to remain objective and not have our department or an entity outside our department conduct that investigation. So when it comes to any information, I want to pause here and let anyone know that if you have information involving this incident or any other incident involving, death or investigation the homicide unit would be investigating, please contact them. Their direct number is 574-295-2825. Another question that comes up and a topic I want to cover is why does it take so long to release factual information about the investigation? Why does the investigation process, what does it look like? Detectives have to collect all kinds of evidence, physical evidence, video evidence, as well as witness statements. That's going to include body cam, car cam, any kind of ballistic testing, any kind of medical exam, whether it be the coroner's office or any other medical documentation. There's DNA. All those things can take, anywhere from a few days to a few weeks to sometimes a few months. So it takes a long time to get that information back because of the thoroughness that is required for the investigation. And one of the reasons I put in my statement a little bit ago was the release of factual information. If information gets put out too soon and it is not verified, that does not help the investigation. It does not help our transparency with the public. It provides misinformation and can breed mistrust. We don't want to do that. We want to provide factual information. So the Elkhart Police Department will hand that investigation over, and then we will subsequently give any information that we have as far as evidence, any information, statements. We will hand that over and fully cooperate with the Elkhart County Homicide Unit. Once the investigation is completed, the Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office reviews the investigation. That would be true if it was the Homicide Unit investigating it, the Elkhart Police Department investigating it, Indiana State Police investigating it. It would still go to the Prosecutor's Office for review. I'm explaining this process to illustrate how putting together all these pieces takes time. These investigations are extremely serious. Waiting for the results of these investigations can be frustrating for everybody. That includes the police department and its members, as well as the city. But allowing a proper investigation is necessary for the situation to be fully understood. And these types of investigations require that thoroughness, they require that transparency and ability to get to the truth. Furthermore, a complete, objective, and thorough investigation also protects the rights of the witnesses, the victims, and the officers involved, making sure everybody's rights are acknowledged. Members of the public want us to release the body cam footage. We also would love to release the body cam footage as quickly as possible, but we must preserve the integrity of the homicide unit's investigation, which is the community and our officers, which is what our community and our officers deserve in a thorough and proper investigation. When the time comes for the details of the incident to be released, it will be done so in a transparent manner. I will do everything in my power to protect the integrity of the investigation. No matter what the results are, we need to protect the integrity of the investigation for everybody involved. So, when it comes to this topic, I have the utmost confidence in the Elkhart Police Department or in the Elkhart Homicide Unit to conduct the investigation into what happened that morning. I also have the utmost confidence in the Elkhart Police Department's officers. Our officers are well-trained professionals and work tirelessly every day to ensure the safety and protection of this community. Inaccurate information has no place in an investigation of this magnitude and can actually impede the investigation. If detectives have to investigate false information and leads, that takes away time from them to be dealing with the factual information and evidence. So what are the next steps? We've spoken to the prosecutor's office, and we anticipate a potential update on the investigation early next week. As soon as possible, the information will be made available to the public. I ask for everyone's patience during this time, and thank you for coming out today. I'm going to update you really quick on the incidents thereafter that have taken place. Over the past several days, our city has experienced a series of violent incidents that have understandably caused concern, fear, and frustration throughout the community. As your chief, I want to speak directly to our residents about what we know and what we are doing. First and foremost, our thoughts are with the victims and the families. No one should feel unsafe in their own neighborhood, and we recognize the emotional toll these incidents have taken on our community. Quick recap, February 8th, we had a car drive-by shooting, 2 male victims. On February 9th, we had a 14-year-old shot in the area of North 6th Street in West Jefferson. And again, on February 9th, we had 2 adult males engaged in a physical fight outside of their vehicles near the intersection of West Bristol Street and Ebersburg Avenue. We know that breaking these down, some of them are very independent from the others. Some may be connected. We're still working through those investigations. So while the investigations are ongoing, we cannot share certain details at this time, but we want to assure the public that we are treating each of these cases with the highest level of urgency. I and my command staff have been in frequent conversations with the detectives and the officers assigned and working these 2 shootings as well as the stabbing. I want to also ensure the public that our detectives are actively investigating and following up on all leads and information they have, working long hours, not going home, staying here, working through the night. That includes their leadership doing the same thing, as well as my command staff. If anyone has any information on any of these incidents, please contact the Elkhart Police Department. Let us know, give us the information. We will take that information and we work it. I had somebody come in this afternoon and ask for me specifically. I walked them back to our detectives. I talked with them directly and made sure that they got the information to the detectives. Everyone, including myself, have been working these cases. We will continue to update the mayor of the status of the investigations and make sure that we will update the public at the proper time when any further information comes available that we can share. We will continue to work these cases. We will continue to find those that are doing dangerous things in our community, and we will do everything in our power to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Got it. There we go. I'm going to keep this here. Okay, I'd like to, before we take questions, I wanted to end by saying that as the chief indicated, and as you heard, there's a range of victims that you know that have been a part of all three of these incidents, actually all four of them. And it's our commitment to make sure to the families of all of those impacted that we will be reaching out to ensure that we keep them updated of the progress. And this is unusual for us to have a press conference now. We normally have one after all of the investigations have taken place, but we do understand the concern that the community has. And we wanted to speak to it now, and we will be speaking beyond, as the chief said, by the end of this week, beginning of next week, we should have some additional salient facts that we can speak to that will allow us to get further down the road on the investigation around the death of the 17-year-old at Hyde Park. But we want to make sure to everyone involved that the commitment is to make sure that this is transparent, it's accountable, and it's thorough. And the misinformation, as Chief just indicated, is a distraction. We want to make sure that the facts are dealt with, and then the corresponding communication is just as thorough as we get to a point in which our community can heal and around these particular subjects. But I want to make sure to let you know that I am just as committed to ensure that that occurs as anyone in this room. And we're not going to rest until it is. With that said, Chief, we'd like to open it up for any questions that the public or the press may have.
But there's really no clarity of like what happened to make the officer weapon. But it did mention that the officer.
So the first question to go into, that's all going to be handled through the investigation for the reasons. So I can speak to the fact that why an officer would or be justified in using deadly force. In this situation, not specific, but in generality. So the specificness of your question is going to have to come with the investigation with the homicide unit. But in generality, a police officer is justified in using any means of force up to and including deadly force when someone poses either a threat of serious bodily injury and or death to the officer or someone in the immediate area of the officer that they can see. And they can use that force to prevent further serious bodily injury and or death from an individual.
The officer injured.
At this point, no, I don't have any specifics on his injuries.
Question number 2, both officers was the teenager hit twice?
I cannot. I have no medical information on any of that.
So the purpose of this event today is
Would
just,
you identify yourself?
oh, Jeff Parrott.
Thank you, Jeff.
So the purpose of this event is not to give any new information, it's just to ask people.
So for me, the update here was we were seeing so much, a couple different things. One, I think to not only ask for patience, but to also educate people on what the process is, why it takes the time it does. So I think we were seeing that. And another thing is we were seeing a lot of information that was just not factual that people were putting out. And we wanted to address all that. We wanted to kind of look at and say, this is how an incident like this is investigated. It does take time. And I think when you have education, I think you have understanding. When you have understanding, then everyone is on the same page. When you don't have that, you have people having their own opinion on different things where they may not have the knowledge. That's what today is about.
I think the press release from the initial press release took a pretty big jump from the officers were investigating a suspicious vehicle to both officers discharge their gun. So can you see where that creates a vacuum for the community as far as information, and they're going to fill that vacuum with this information?
I understand that that's exactly part of this. This is part of us going, listen, there's so much that can happen in the blink of an eye. And to assume things happened, it just allows more and more mistrust and issues to come up. So that's why we wanted to get in front of this. We wanted to talk about it. We wanted to typically say the process.
So in addition, everything that was on a video or everything that came through on the body cam has to be investigated and, quite frankly, interviewed. And the prosecutors indicated that part of this is making sure that everything is checked so that the substantive information that's factual and that can be substantively defined is actually what becomes a part of the investigation. And so this was 3 days ago. So for all of that cross-reference to occur, it takes a little bit of time. And so with that said, you can't release videos until those facts are actually obtained. And it's not just what you see, it's how you verify what's there on the video itself. And that's a part of the due diligence that is being taken right now in order to get to the point in which we can, which is why we said earlier at the end of the week, beginning of next week, there should be some additional facts that could help us to fill some of those gaps that you just indicated and help others to fill those gaps as well. And we will report them as soon as they give us the approval to actually do so. How do you want to, Chief?
No, nothing specific. This is not a time for us to try and go, back and forth, and trying to dispute specific things. What we simply want to realize, or we want the public to understand, is that because somebody puts something out, it does not make it factual, and it doesn't make it analyzed, verified, or corroborated through the investigation. So what we're asking is just for patience, time, and for people to realize, to put things in context, that there are professionals that are extremely well trained, that have the evidence. There are very few people in this world that know exactly what happened that night. And most of those people are not, well, not most, all of those people that have every bit of information and every angle looked at are not posting things. Those are our investigators. So that's what we're here to speak to. No, I'm not actually pointing to anything specific. There's a wide range of information that's been out there. So no, this is not a specific thing. We're talking about misinformation. That can be rumors that people are hearing in the hallways, in the bathrooms, social media, anything. There's a lot of information out there. I can only imagine what's going through the schools, through the students. I mean, there's just a ton of those things that people that are nowhere near involved in anywhere in the intimate details of this investigation are speaking to.
And in order to bring resolution to the families that are involved and to our community as a whole, the due diligence that needs to take place is something that we need to take the time to be able to do so that we can corroborate everything that, whether it's from a video that you may see posted online or a comment or two, or from all of the information that we have internal. All of that needs to be corroborated in a way that allows for us to substantively look at this comprehensively and draw the fact that these events occurred in this particular way, and this is the accountability behind it. And so that's why the fairness needs to be applied across the board in order to give everyone the opportunity to move forward. And that's primarily the purpose of not just this event, but the next update that we would give as well, which hopefully will be in about a week. And that will help us to gain more clarity around fact versus fiction. And as we well know, we're in a space around social media where it just comes quick. And then assumptions are made, and those assumptions lead to an additional one without anything corroborated. It's just that fact led to something else. And that's why it's important for us to make sure that we just take the time to do it right and to ensure that the families and everyone else, that they will be given a true, I'm very committed to ensuring that the transparency is there, as I said earlier. We want to make sure that we do it in a manner that gives justice to everyone involved.
Spoke to the Roberts family yesterday, and they called on the state investigators, especially as Elkhart is handling many. Is that ever the realm of possibility?
Want to speak to that?
So as I indicated earlier, the investigative body is only one part of the process when it comes to a case like this. So regardless of whether it's state police or Elkhart County Homicide Unit or any other entity that would come in from the state of Indiana, that would all go to the Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office. That's all going to be vetted through the prosecutor, and so it all kind of ends up at one spot. So that to think about having another agency investigating it, if the prosecutor felt that they would want to see a different investigation from a different body or entity, that would be on their call. But we haven't seen the investigation because of our distance from it, that we would make that call. That would be on them.
Second question more generally, is the city or the police department doing any community outreach to kind of build trust between law enforcement and the community?
Yeah, so great question. That's something actually we've been focusing on quite a bit, and really looking at what we can do to have our officers engaging in the community. And one of the things that we've even tasked our officers with this year is to come up with anything that they feel that maybe would be beneficial to the community that they're passionate about, and supporting those officers and providing the resources and support for them to be able to interact that way. So even recently, as of Saturday morning, we had, I don't know if you saw it, but it was Coco with a Popo. We actually went to McNaughton Park. We had sleds, we had Coco, we had officers out there. We had a great time. I think we had 30 or 40 people show up. A lot of kids show up, went down the sledding hill. We had officers in uniform sliding down the hill, trying to, interact with the community. And so we're doing that a lot. We have another one coming up in February. We're going to have another event where we're going to invite the community to the police department and do a tour. We have things that we're planning at Tolson Center. We have things that we plan at the parks. So that is something that we're always striving for, because our officers, these are dedicated professionals. You don't take a position in a police department to benefit anything other than the community. There's no benefit to the officer other than they get to be part of the community, and they're so dedicated that for every minute and every second of every single day, these officers show up and they come to serve and protect the community. It doesn't matter if it's putting their life on the line. They're here every single day, every second of the day, to make sure that happens. And the amount of professionals we have working here, the officers, and their ability and their training and their professionalism is just incredible. And I can't speak highly enough of individuals that will be willing to sacrifice the way they do. So we're very fortunate to have that. Again, we hold ourselves accountable. We hold ourselves to a standard. If a mistake's made, then we will move forward and we'll deal with it. But the caliber of people we have working here in our law enforcement profession is quite amazing. Yes. So as far as the connectivity, I can't speak to that. Obviously there are different incidents that happen at different places at different times. So location, time. If there is some connectivity to it, our investigators are working on that right now. However, they are two different incidents that happen different dates and times. So right now we're looking at them obviously independently. If we find any connectivity, that'll come out in the investigation. We're looking at everything. So yes, we have been in contact with the community. We have been working and partnering with them as we want to do in every single case we take. But yes, we have been partnering with the community and we'll continue to do so, and thankful to have that relationship.
Can I speak a little bit to that too? You know, in both of those situations, the Martins shooting as well as the shooting that happened with the 14-year-old, there are times in which the community just doesn't respond at all. I mean, there's just, you know, a silence. When I speak to community, those that are involved, they don't want to feel as though they're in a place where they do what we call snitching on each other. And that becomes prevalent, and it actually stymies certain investigations. In these two situations, it is pleasing to see that there is some relationship with the community that has stepped up, and maybe because of the veracity of what occurred on Sunday morning, it's a sense of this just has to stop. And so we really would like to continue to ask for community involvement in the appropriate way to make sure that you speak up when you see something. Make sure that you know that this could happen, you know, whatever it is, it could be happening to someone else that you love or someone else that you know. And in order for us to be able to pull together, see something, say something, as they say, let's make sure that we do, and so that we can get in front of some of these issues. We realize there are way too many weapons on the street. We realize that. And we realize that weapons are getting into the hands of young minds and folk that aren't responsible with them. And it ends up into a situation where, unfortunately, things happen. And that's where we want to try to prevent. And so, you know, it's not playing with something. There was a 10-year-old that was shot over in Mishawaka. I've been on the phone with Mayor Wood, and he walked me through the details of that one. And that's a very, very unfortunate incident that occurred because no one seemed to want to say something when they saw it. And so for these Glocks to be passed around with switches on them, and for all of these different weapons that are everywhere, you know, these are the kind of things that we need to make sure that we're speaking to, because they're not toys. So when you say how we can get in front of this, community policing happens from the community. And that is so important that we understand and we actually work to do it.
So I'm leaving the sharing of the details up to the investigator that's working the case. While I'm always kept abreast and up to date on what's going on with things like that, they're the ones working the case. They know what they need and what's best for the direction of the solvability of that case. So I will leave that up to them. They have not asked us to do that right now. And again, I have full trust and faith in my officers and my investigators. When that time is, or if that is needed, they will certainly do that, because if, as the media, if you're aware, we share a lot of things like that. We put those out actually quite frequently. So again, I think that just speaks to the ability and the professionalism that we have in the department. While obviously this is something that we don't deal with to this magnitude on a very regular basis, we have some of just the best trained and capable officers out there. So our officers are doing good. They're coming in every day. They're working their shifts. They're out there. They're collecting information. They're collecting evidence. They're not stopping. And to see the connectivity and the teamwork between my patrol division, the detectives, my trainers, everything that's happening, the administration, they're all in. Everyone is talking, everyone is helping, everyone's doing it. So if there's a short spot or something that comes up that needs to be done, we're getting it done. And so as far as the officers and how they're doing well. We check on them. The ones that are involved in the shooting, we check on them. We check on the other officers that were involved, because you got to realize it's not just the officers that, had to discharge their weapons. There were other officers that were there that were, around the scene, saw it, dealt with it. And we have to keep that in mind as well. So when it comes to the firearms thing, that's kind of always a mixed bag. Are we seeing a huge uptick in the ghost guns, like 3D printed type stuff? We have not seen a huge uprise in that. A lot of the guns, again, it depends if you're talking about a serial number that's been obliterated and ground off. That's different than a ghost gun. But each one is typically unique. Some are stolen, some are not. Some people report their guns stolen, some don't. So it could be a gun that was legitimately stolen out of a home, but somebody didn't have the serial number and couldn't report it. To speak specifically, see an uptick in ghost guns, to answer your question specifically, no, I haven't seen that specific. Welcome.
Mayor, you talked about the five sides of not only spread misinformation, how else can people find it?
That's a good question, Clayton. My whole spirit around what I do is around unifying a city and leading through it. And I've always said that Elkhart is one of the most resilient cities that I know. And it's because we have a real deep relationship with diversity. We have a deep relationship with people in general. That's what makes us work. It is tough to carry the load of what has occurred over the last 3 days for everyone that I mentioned a moment ago. But when you think about what unifies a lot of our community around these 3 events, the young man, child that lost his life at High Dive Park, he has parents, relatives, the officers who was involved with the shooting. They have kids and families. The 2 that were shot at Martin's, they have parents, relatives, and those who actually hopefully will be caught and prosecuted soon for that. They also will rip up their families. And then the young man is 14 years old, he's fighting for his life right now, that was shot. He has family, relatives, friends. There's a thread of this that runs through everybody that's sitting in this room in one way, shape, or form. And to me, the relationship that really coordinates it all is a sense of understanding that those relationships are not necessarily, they're not bad people. There are people who have done some tough things, and there are people who are innocently impacted by it all. And so we got to find that way to be able to lift up everyone and walk into a situation and say, the accountability that we hold to our neighbor and to that school teacher, that church member, that relationship that is one in which is important enough to make sure that you are just as accountable to making sure that you're telling what you see what you say, you see it, you tell it. If that is something that you think is going to harm someone, you owe it to our community, just as we do. It helps all of us get through it. And that is something that Sometimes we forget when we think we're different than each other, because we aren't. We really aren't. You believe that's the other, so you don't say anything. It's not true. And you can see how these particular events have brought all of us together in a manner that's unfortunate, but we can get through it. We will get through it. And we got to make sure that we speak up to address it. Thank you for the question.
What would you?
I would have to defer to the Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office for that. That would be under the guise of their investigation. So that is not up to us. We've been in contact and communication with the prosecutor's office, and they have indicated that some additional information, you know, they will be able to release some additional factual information. Exactly what, we don't know. Again, if we're able to provide that to the public, we will do that, and we will do that as soon as possible.
And where is the?
Well, I think, again, we're going to speak to the professionals and what they do. These are specifically chosen, trained individuals to do this. This is what they do. And they investigate every homicide, every child death, every suspicious death. So we entrust them to do that for our community. And I think there's no difference here. That's what they do for full time. Where they're at physically right now, I have no idea. I'm assuming they're running around extremely busy. But no, I mean, that's when you look at their closure rates and their success rates when it comes to convictions, I think they're well over 90%. These are extremely capable individuals that do this for a living, and I have the utmost confidence in them.
Thank you.
One last question, and then we're going to wrap it up here.
Well, I'd like to say this. These three events are unusual. It doesn't happen with this kind of veracity in such a condensed period of time, like 3 days. You have not been in, in the last 6 years, haven't been in this type of situation. So when you say that there's an uptick and it's increasing, perceptually, I think it's tied into what happened on Sunday morning, then Monday, and then, or was it Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday, and then Tuesday afternoon. I believe that's the 3 days that it happened in. And so if it is an anomaly, which we hope that that's what it is, because nothing happened yesterday, nothing has happened today, God bless. We feel as though this isn't something that happens on a regular basis. But we will make sure that we're doing all we can to help get our community through it. And so a part of being resilient and a part of understanding that we're not ducking bullets every day. We feel safe when we go outside. There's not an area in Elkhart that you have to believe that you can't go to at any time of the day or night. And people in those communities, they know it and feel it. But I want to make sure to let you know, we are in an urban community, and I get that. But we need to make sure that we understand that this isn't something that happens every day, and we can get through it as a community, and we will. He's going to finish that one and then.
Yeah, so to kind of piggyback off the mayor, one of the things we were talking about releasing here recently, and we'll do a little bit more in detail, but in 2025, almost every category of violent crime decreased in Elkhart. So I won't go too much into that. But again, that comes with the relationship that we have with the community. That comes with the dedication of our officers and what they're doing and the impact that they're having. And it speaks to the type of community we have, that we are trying to better ourselves, that these violent crimes are decreasing. Now, we hope that trend continues this year. And we're going to be working very, very hard, because if we have that community connection, then that's how we work together to solve the issues. If issues go unsolved, if there's no trust and people aren't willing to talk to us, then that's a problem. We can't solve things without the community. That's just the way it is. So we want to continue to build that trust. I don't care if it is, with a community on the north side, the south side, the east, the west. I want to build it with everybody, because that's how we become effective. And our job is not to selectively protect or care about one specific type of the community. It's everybody.
Question?
That will have to come at the direction of the prosecutor's office. If it's up to me, yes. So I have no issues with that at all. But again, we do have to respect the process and the investigation. I don't want to compromise the investigation for anybody, the family, the witnesses involved, anyone, the officers. I don't want to compromise it for anybody, because we need to have the truth come out. That's how you get justice, is the truth. So that's what we're dedicated to.
And I just want to say, I too am committed to working with the prosecutor's office to release as much as we are allowed to release based on what they indicate we can. I will make sure that we work to get that released as well. Okay. We have.
She believes in you. So Sunday, she believed and had trust in the police department.
Con esto no estoy diciendo que todos policías están malos o hayan cometido errores. Yo
Right.
sé que mucha gente buena y del
He's not saying that all the police officers have been wrong. He knows that there are good police officers. There's also those police officers that need to be investigated.
Pero lo que hemos sabido últimamente acerca de las injusticias en el campo,
We could find out a lot of injustice in Elkhart, in the police department.
la manera en que está llevando el caso, nosotros yo venía aquí esperando que muchas de nuestras preguntas fueran contestadas.
We have come here hoping to get answers.
Nosotros seguimos esperando el final de la investigación.
Keep waiting for the final details of the investigation.
Al mismo tiempo que seguimos soportando.
At the same time, if it was the hurt that the entire family and community facing right now.
Quiero decirle de manera personal
Tell you personally,
que confío en usted,
she trusts you,
que quiero seguir creyendo en usted.
wants to keep believing in you.
Y al departamento de policía que lleven todo esto transparentemente
The police department that will be transparent.
al equipo que está en investigación,
The group that's in the investigation,
que está transparente,
transparent,
que diga la verdad,
tell the truth,
que revele toda la información que no solo la familia, sino toda la comunidad necesita conocer con su
to reveal all the information with detail that Brian's family deserves as well as the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And two things. You have my condolences. And that's why we're in front of you today, is to let you know that we feel your family and all the families included. And we ask for your patience as we ensure that we go through everything's necessary in order to get you and the family and the community, everybody in here, a chance to understand exactly what happened. And so we're committed, as I said, Chief is committed, just as I am, to ensure that we get you everything that we can when it's available. So if we can make sure that the community is well aware of that and we have the patience to get through it, we will continue to work with the prosecutor's office and the homicide department, the Elkhart County Homicide Department, to get all that's necessary so that this community can get through this. Through Brian's death, as well as all the other investigations that we're making. And that's for everybody included, the police officers as well. We want to make sure that we do this the right way. And that's our commitment.
All right, thanks for coming out. Like I said, we'll be putting out an additional video in Spanish later so we can try and get some answers to our bilingual community. If anybody's got any questions from the public, I'd be happy to answer those on the site afterwards. Thank you.